Summary on this one. Andy, please take it away.
Bones and all. So this is the latest feature from Luca Guadagnino, who previously did the Suspiria remake and also Call Me by Your Name, which really put Timothee Chalamet on the map. I think he was nominated for an Oscar for that role. And now we have this new kind of Thanksgiving offering. The short version is that this is a cannibal love story. Like I said, it stars Timothée Chalamet and also newcomer Taylor Russell, who's actually the lead in the film, and also has appearances by Mark Rylance and Michael Stolberg. The story is Taylor Russell plays Marin, who has kind of an addiction, and that is one to human flesh. At the beginning of the film, she is kind of abandoned by her father, who has helped her and had to move from place to place anytime there's been an incident, anytime she hasn't really been able to control her condition. And finally, he leaves her with a tape, an audio message, some money, and her birth certificate, and she listens to it slowly throughout the film, and he tries to explain what happened, what her situation was, what her mother was like, and that he's kind of done everything for her that he can. He loves her. She's his child, his blood, but he can no longer kind of keep doing this nomadic lifestyle, and her, thirst essentially is he can't deal with it anymore. And so she sets off on a quest to find her mother, who lives states away. And along the way, she comes across other what they call eaters, people who have the same desire to eat human flesh, and who can kind of smell each other. And this is where we meet people like Mark Rylance and eventually Timothée Chalamet, where they find this companionship. And it's a love story, but it's more about finding your people, finding your tribe, and acceptance and things like this. It's a big metaphor for sure. And this is based off the novel by Camille DeAngelis. Lots to say about this movie. Zach, what'd you think?
So, Bones and All is fundamentally a cannibal romance road movie. Like that's fundamentally what you're getting in this movie. You have two characters who are traveling, and they are discovering things about themselves, about the world around them along the way. Two young individuals, and uniquely, like I don't have a lot of room to stand on this, but one of Christine's favorite genres of book, she's a big reader. As young adult, she loves the idea of like people, discovering who they're going to be and finding your own identity, and really growing into something. And Bones and All is like fundamentally exactly that. It is a young adult movie. Our characters are 18, at least one of them is, for sure. I'm not sure about the other one. But like that is almost by coincidence in the movie. Like they could be 17, they could be 19, but like there's something uniquely like teenager about these characters. They feel really young, and they feel really innocent. And it's funny because a character who's innocent is not also going to be somebody who eats people. And that is like the crutch of the challenge of these characters. Luca Guadagnino, director, says this movie is a romance first, and it is a cannibal horror movie second, and it's wholeheartedly true. Like the thing that carries this movie is fundamentally the relationship between Marin and Lee, our two leads. The cannibal thing is not a coincidence by chance. Like that's not really what it is, but it's a hurdle they struggle with. It's a problem. But really, it's an addiction. And like two teens that are addicted to drugs or alcohol or something much more sinister, they have to figure out who they are, like while the world rejects them, while everybody says you can't do this and this is wrong, and they're driven to it. They're impulsive even.
Right. It's a metaphor stand-in for marginalized populations, and you could read it as just people on the edges of society, like you said, people struggling with addiction, people struggling with homelessness, trans and the gay community as well. Because one thing this movie is about is family. Like from Fast and Furious. Yeah. It's about finding your people and finding people that accept you. And early on, when Marin is first setting off across the country, she comes across Mark Rylance's Sully, who's also an eater, and he's kind of like a father figure, and takes, kind of takes her under his wing and teaches her stuff. He's like, he teaches her how to use her nose, how to smell. He's like, you can smell certain things in the air. You can tell when someone's maybe about to die. You can smell another eater. You know, miles away, this sort of thing. And he is desperately lonely, and he really wants to kind of team up with her, but he's super creepy, and she's definitely not not feeling it. But that's what a lot of the movie is about. It's about finding the people that accept you, people that you can bond with, and we meet characters that have succeeded or not succeeded at doing that kind of throughout the film. And that's what, again, family and companionship is a big theme.
Yeah, and then on top of that, your characters have to wrestle with like this horrible thing they're doing, right? The cannibalism is, of course, a feature of this movie, and it is grisly.
Oh boy.
Like when it happens, there's some sequences in here that are really horrifying. Guadagnino formerly did Suspiria, the remake, and that movie is equally horrifying in its gory nature. A hard R there and a hard R here. But our characters are struggling with this, and some characters accept it differently, right? Mark Rylance's Sully is somebody who like totally accepts what he is and who he is, and this is how he do. Really great character silhouette on him, by the way. He wears like a fedora with a feather, and he's got like a million pins and this like high-pitched kind of voice. Great
Looks
work.
like a carnival
Great work
worker.
from Rylance.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, like really great work. Really creepy, kind of weird individual you can't really get a read on. But the other characters like Marin don't want to be this way and hate that they are this way. And it's really unique when she meets Lee. Timothee Chalamet played fantastically. Again, of course, Chalamet can't miss. Man can't miss. Lee is somebody who more has gotten past the stage of where she is and accepts who he is, and really kind of thinks he has control of it. And it's not until kind of the end of our first act when they meet another set of eaters and they explain to them quite bluntly, like you think you have this problem under your thumb and you don't. Like this thing is ruling your life. It is fundamentally like the urge to eat human flesh is driving every decision they make, like whether they know it or not. And eventually, like they have to give in, like vampires, right? Like they have to feed.
Yeah,
and that is where you get some really cool sequences.
Yeah, that's one thing we learned, is that the hunger increases as they get older. Marin is just turned 18, whereas Mark Rylance's character is in his 60s, 70s, and they meet older ones. Another thing that this movie's about is memory as it relates to family. Marin has this. She's trying to find her mother. She has this cassette tape. This takes place in the 80s, by the way. That her father gave her, and she has his voice, and she has kind of a loose chronicle of what's happened. But there's things like tapes, handwritten notes, her birth certificate. Mark Rylance is a very creepy way of remembering the people he's eaten, which I won't spoil here. Timothee Chalamet has kind of an estranged family and a sister who desperately wants him to be home, but he can't really be home too much. But again, that ties into family, memory, remembering who we are, what we came from, where we're going. It's really brilliant to see these little strong thematic elements kind of sprinkled throughout the movie.
Really charming settings in Bones and All as well. A lot of it's a road movie, but it was really nice to see that most of it takes place in the American Midwest. You're looking at Iowa, Nevada, Ohio. Like you're really getting out in the middle of nowhere. And when you roll the credits, you get to see that they did actually go film in these locations. And it looks great. Like lots of big landscapes. They have this old truck this old rickety pickup that they kind of drive around in, and you get some really charming sequences of these two just kind of like growing to get to know each other, and also learning how to feed and how to work the system and find victims, and that stuff is terrifying. Yeah, but it's terrifying from afar. You get to hold it at arm's length because the monsters are our main characters, and that when they're not being these people, they are uniquely innocent and they are uniquely they stand away from what they're doing. Marin at one point declares that, well, I'm never going to do it again, and Lee's like, sure you're not. Like this is why we're out here in the middle of nowhere. These are the characters we are. Like, I was really impressed at the depth that comes out of such a simple idea, right? Cannibal love story road movie. Like, it sounds like any other road movie, but it goes further, and like that's really impressive with two actors who are really young, and a script based on a book.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just I found it really moving and compelling. It's not the romance of the year or of the decade or anything of that, but I think it's a step up in film in discipline, mostly for Guadagnino, because Suspiria is maybe a little overly long. It's 2 hours 40 minutes. It's trying to take on something as complex as the Holocaust in its background and its themes. This seems toned down. It seems more simple, and it's better in a lot of ways. It's more efficient. It's more disciplined. The story's much more cohesive. And man, it is creepy. Like as a piece of horror. I mean, I read about there being a lot of walkouts in some people's screenings, and I can absolutely see where that might happen. But it doesn't have like a jump scare. It's not that kind of horror movie. It's about mood. It's about creepiness. It's about untrustworthiness, because all these eaters are kind of drifters, and you don't really know who you can and can't trust. And even Mark Rylance's Sully, he is a character who is helping our protagonist, but man, you just don't know if this guy's, if he's going to stab you in the back or not.
Yeah, like with any small feature, like you can look at the cast list and see, usually your top few players and realize these people probably have pretty large parts. And I don't think there are any small parts in Bones and All, except for a couple of quick, smaller parts. Michael Stuhlbarg is really effective in the scenes he's in, but he was totally on set for like a day, like easy. And also a surprise appearance, very small, from director David Gordon Green of the recent Halloween movies. That was really odd. His character named Brad. Keep an eye out for him. But otherwise, like, Bones and All is a really good time for what it is. It's a slower movie. It settles at a certain level of energy that is not like excitement roller coaster at the movies, but I think it's really sharp. I would expect it for streaming to show up on something like HBO. Your premier streaming service is where I would hope this turns out. But I'm looking forward to people being able to see this more. It's in theaters. Any other thoughts for recommendations?
I think I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend Bones and All?
I would, with a lot of caveats. Definitely, if you're a fan of horror and of Guadagnino's previous work, if you've seen Suspiria, that movie gets pretty gory as well. This has a lot of real intense scenes. Like I said, there were some walkouts, but if you can stomach the horror, pun intended, I would definitely recommend it. It's a deep film about family, about memory, about addiction, about finding our people, about finding companionship, brotherhood, sisterhood, these kinds of things on kind of the margins of society.
Yeah, I think Andy's totally right. Like, this movie is a movie about people who are the weird ones, right? Like the people on the outside. And I think if you're the kind of person who's interested in this movie and you go see it, you might find a unique kinship in the theater with the people you're seeing on screen, not because they're cannibals, but because like they too are unique in a way that the people going to see this flick are. Like you have you have a morbid curiosity, a unique interest to see just what's going on in Luca Guadagnino's Bones and All. And I'm pleased to say, like, I think if you get there, if you buy the ticket and you take the ride, you're going to enjoy what's happening here. It's different. It's unique. It's slower. It's thoughtful. Can't wait to see what he does next. That's Bones and All. And that's Off Script, episode 198. Oh my God.